Hey, I'm making a video of me making protein pancakes. I started off washing my hands, and I just wanted to say, yes, I am singing my ABCs because sometimes that's what I want to do instead of just counting to 30. The ingredients you're starting with will be flour, protein powder, vanilla butter, an egg, baking powder, salt, and monk fruit or just regular sugar. So once your hands are all clean, then you can go ahead and get started adding all your dry ingredients. I already added my flour and protein powder. Then you do your salt, your baking powder, and your sugar. From there, you're going to create a well in the center of the mixture, the dry ingredients, after you mix the dry ingredients fully. Then you create like a well in the center, and that's where you'll add your cracked egg and your milk. I do the milk first so then I can add the egg to the milk and like mix it into the milk in the center first, just to make sure the egg is fully incorporated. And then you add your melted butter and your vanilla. So that's your well, that's all of your wet ingredients. You mix those in the middle first, and then you start to incorporate all the dry ingredients from the side as you're mixing. I couldn't show that, but you know the gist. Then, you add milk till you get the right consistency that you want. At this point, I added a half a cup of milk because that's what the recipe requires, 1.5 cups of milk, but it was a bit too runny. So then I started to add, a little bit of flour, and that's when I realized, the consistency wasn't going to be right with me changing the amount how I was told online, which is by just replacing 1/3 of a cup of your flour with 1/3 of a cup of your protein powder. Instead, I did the same amount of flour as my recipe requires, and I added 2/3 a cup of protein powder, and it did not change. It was wonderful. So then you butter that griddle, butter my griddle good, and then I added about 1/3 a cup of batter per pancake. Now here you can see them bubbling up. Oh my goodness, I love this right here. I kept the camera there just so that I could see this myself. And then I go and flip it. Once, all the bubbles, it's kind of got bubbles all over, I flip it. And then I wait it. And like once they're soft to the touch on the other side, you can go ahead and pick them up. So I went ahead and picked them up, and then I started the next batch. So that was 8 pancakes done. And then now you don't even have to add butter again the second time, because remember, butter's in your recipe. You just want to add the butter on that griddle for those first pancakes. Then you go ahead and add 1/3 cup batter, per pancake. Once again, I got about 18 pancakes. And each pancake, since there's 25 grams per 1/3 of a cup of protein powder, I got about 3 grams of protein per pancake, which is pretty good. Now I started trying to do too much. I was like, let me make my coffee and get my coffee going at the same time. And I flipped a pancake over onto another pancake. But this happens to me all the time. And this, what happens. So you let it cook a little bit on the one that you just flipped, and then you move it over, and then it'll keep going. But you first have to let it cook a little bit so it can slide. Now this is how I make my coffee. I just wanted to share this because I love my little coffee maker thing. I love this. So you just got to click the little button, make the coffee drip down after you let it in. It's called an immersion coffee maker. So you let it soak up all the coffee in the water before you press the little button, and it drops the coffee down. So good, so wonderful, and just novel. I like it this way. So at this point, the pancakes are done. And I'm trying to tell my family to come on and, get some pancakes, but I'm, make sure my coffee done, and then finishing up the rest of that batter. I really hope you enjoy the recipe, and if you have any questions, let me know. Now at this point, you're just gonna see me finishing up making my coffee, and then I'm gonna have some pancakes. Have a great week. Bye.